The path of life is never smooth. It is full of obstacles, detours, and moments of doubt. There will be times when the weight of your burdens feels unbearable, when the road ahead seems unclear, and when uncertainty clouds your every step. Yet, in the midst of this chaos, there is a simple truth. A steady mind makes any path walkable. This is not a claim that life's challenges will disappear, nor is it a promise that all your desires will be fulfilled. Rather, it is the recognition that the state of your mind, how you respond to the world around you, determines how you experience life's journey. When you master your mind, when you gain control over your emotions and judgments, no matter how difficult the road, you can walk it with purpose, clarity, and peace. What does it mean to have a steady mind? To the Stoic, it is the practice of holding one's thoughts and emotions in balance, of remaining grounded in the face of adversity, and of acting in accordance with reason and virtue, rather than being swept away by the chaos of external circumstances. A steady mind is one that is not easily swayed by the fluctuations of life. It does not react impulsively to external events, but instead, it responds with measured thought and deliberate action. It recognizes that the only thing we can truly control in life is our own response to it. External events, the actions of others, and the conditions of the world are beyond our influence, but our reactions to them, our thoughts, our emotions, and our decisions are within our control. Consider the analogy of a ship navigating the open sea. The winds and the waves are beyond the sailor's control, but the sailor can still steer the ship. The sailor must adjust the sails, correct the course, and maintain focus, regardless of the storms that rage around them. In the same way, the steady mind does not allow external turbulence to determine its course. It remains calm and focused, regardless of the storm. This requires a disciplined mind, a mind that is practiced in recognizing the distinction between what is within our control and what is not. It is a mind that does not waste energy fighting the uncontrollable, but rather directs its efforts toward those things it can influence: our thoughts, our judgments, and our actions. How often do we find ourselves swept away by the emotions of the moment? When faced with adversity, we are quick to react, to give in to anger, fear, or frustration. We feel overwhelmed by the external world, and in that moment, our thoughts and emotions become turbulent, just like a storm at sea. In these moments, we forget that the storm is not what matters. It is how we respond to it that determines our experience. A steady mind is not one that is immune to emotion, but one that has learned to master it. It acknowledges emotions as a natural part of the human experience, but it does not allow them to dictate actions. The Stoic does not repress their feelings, but rather observes them, understands them, and chooses how to act in accordance with reason. When we encounter difficulty, we are often tempted to react immediately, to give in to our feelings of frustration or despair. But by practicing emotional control, we can pause and create space between stimulus and response. In this space, we have the opportunity to choose how we will respond. Will we give in to anger, or will we act with patience and understanding? Will we give in to fear, or will we face the challenge with courage and resolve? In the face of difficulty, the steady mind does not seek to avoid or escape the challenge, but to face it with calm determination. It understands that hardship is a natural part of life, and that our growth comes not from avoiding difficulties, but from enduring them with strength and wisdom. In the modern world, we are constantly bombarded by external pressures, the demands of work, relationships, and society. We are told that we must always strive for more, that we must meet the expectations of others, and that we must constantly be achieving and performing. This creates a kind of inner turmoil as we become caught up in the rush of life, constantly chasing after things that are beyond our control. The Stoic approach is radically different. It calls us to focus on what is within our control, our thoughts, our judgments, and our actions. It teaches us to be present in each moment, to respond to life's challenges with calm and clarity, and to accept the things we cannot change with grace and dignity. By doing so, we cultivate a steady mind, one that is not disturbed by the chaos of the world, but remains grounded in its own center. This does not mean that we withdraw from life or stop pursuing our goals. Rather, it means that we pursue them with a clear mind, without being distracted by the noise of external pressures or the fluctuations of our emotions. When we are able to maintain a steady mind, we can approach each task with focus and purpose, knowing that the outcome is not what defines us, but the effort we put forth and the character we display in the process. To walk any path with steadiness, we must first develop the strength of mind to navigate the obstacles that will inevitably arise. This requires constant practice, the daily exercise of emotional control, the continuous effort to cultivate inner peace, and the commitment to living in accordance with virtue. Each day is an opportunity to strengthen the resolve of our minds, to remind ourselves that our thoughts and actions are what define our experience of life. Imagine for a moment the way in which you face a challenge. Do you approach it with a calm and steady mind? Or do you react impulsively, allowing emotions like frustration or fear to guide your actions? In moments of difficulty, it is easy to give in to the pressure of the moment. But by cultivating a steady mind, we can face each challenge with clarity, free from the emotional turbulence that often clouds our judgment. A steady mind is one that is rooted in the present moment. It does not dwell on the past, nor does it worry about the future. It faces the world as it is, with full awareness, without being distracted by regrets or anxieties. In this way, the steady mind can navigate any path, for it is not disturbed by the shifting tides of external circumstances. In practical terms, this means developing habits that foster mental clarity and emotional resilience. It means practicing mindfulness, the ability to stay fully present in each moment without being swept away by distractions. It means developing the discipline to control our reactions, to pause before responding, and to act with intentionality rather than impulse. The more we practice this, the more steady our mind becomes, and the more capable we are of walking any path with purpose and peace. As we close, remember that the challenges of life are not to be feared, but to be faced with courage and wisdom. The steady mind is not one that avoids difficulty, but one that confronts it with resolve and clarity. It is a mind that recognizes the fleeting nature of external circumstances and understands that true peace comes not from controlling the world, but from controlling how we respond to it. A steady mind makes any path walkable, because it is not determined by the obstacles along the way. It is determined by our ability to endure, to act with virtue, and to remain grounded in the face of life's uncertainties. When we master our minds, we are free from the distractions of external forces and the turmoil of unchecked emotions. We can walk each path with calm, clarity, and a sense of purpose. So, let us focus on the inner work that shapes our experience of life. Let us cultivate a steady mind through the practice of emotional control, discipline, and acceptance. And as we walk our paths, no matter how difficult they may seem, let us remember that it is not the road that matters most, but how we walk it. In continuing our journey to understand the power of a steady mind, let us explore more deeply the core elements that build such a mind, the principles of virtue, endurance, and the proper use of our will. The Stoic teaches that virtue, not external circumstances, is the true measure of our success. It is the cultivation of virtues such as wisdom, courage, justice, and temperance that forms the foundation of a steady mind. The first of these virtues, wisdom, is the ability to distinguish between what is within our control and what is not. Wisdom teaches us to focus our attention on those things we can influence, our thoughts, our judgments, and our actions, while accepting with grace the things that lie beyond our control. When we act with wisdom, we do not waste our energy on frustration or regret. Instead, we accept the natural course of events, knowing that they do not define our peace or our sense of purpose. Courage is another key element of a steady mind. It is not the absence of fear, but the ability to act in spite of it. The steady mind is one that recognizes the challenges ahead, but does not retreat from them. It faces obstacles with resolve, knowing that it is through overcoming adversity that we grow stronger. Courage allows us to remain steadfast in the face of difficulty, to persist when others would falter, and to continue on the path regardless of the hurdles that lie ahead. Justice, too, plays a vital role in maintaining a steady mind. Justice is the practice of fairness, integrity, and respect for others. It is through acting justly that we create harmony in our relationships and within ourselves. A steady mind is one that does not act impulsively or out of self-interest, but one that seeks the good for all, recognizing that true peace comes from living in accordance with nature and in harmony with others. Temperance, the final virtue we must cultivate, is the mastery over our desires and impulses. A steady mind is not ruled by its cravings or distractions. It remains focused, disciplined, and purposeful. In the Stoic tradition, Temperance means moderation, neither indulgence nor repression, but a balanced approach to life. By practicing temperance, we develop the inner strength to resist the pull of fleeting desires and to remain focused on the pursuit of lasting goods, such as virtue and wisdom. Now, reflect for a moment on your own life. How often do you find yourself at the mercy of your emotions, reacting impulsively or feeling overwhelmed by the forces around you? How often do you allow external circumstances to dictate your mood, your thoughts, and your actions? In these moments, we forget that the external world is not the source of our peace. True peace comes from within, from the cultivation of a steady mind that is anchored in virtue. Imagine walking a path that is rocky and uneven, filled with obstacles. If you are distracted by every stone you trip over, every gust of wind that blows your way, you will never make it to your destination. But if you remain focused, steady in your mind and purpose, you can navigate each obstacle with calm and determination. The path may be difficult, but your mind will remain unwavering. This is the power of a steady mind. It is not thrown off course by every difficulty, but remains focused on the ultimate goal. This process requires practice and discipline. It is not something that happens overnight, but something that we must cultivate daily. Each day presents us with opportunities to strengthen our minds, to choose how we will respond to life's challenges, and to act in accordance with virtue. The more we practice, the more steady and resilient our minds become, and the more capable we are of walking any path, no matter how difficult it may seem. As we navigate the complexities of modern life, we often encounter pressures that challenge our sense of calm and clarity. The demands of work, relationships, and societal expectations can easily overwhelm us. The noise of the world, the constant barrage of distractions, and the rapid pace of life often leave us feeling scattered, uncertain, and anxious. Yet the Stoic teaches us that our peace is not dependent on the external world, but on our response to it. To integrate the wisdom of a steady mind into our daily lives, we must first cultivate the habit of self-awareness. By becoming more aware of our thoughts, emotions, and reactions, we can begin to identify the sources of our agitation and the triggers that lead us astray. This awareness allows us to catch ourselves before we are swept away by impulse or emotion. We can pause, reflect, and choose a more deliberate response. One powerful practice is mindfulness, the ability to stay present in the moment without being consumed by the past or the future. When we are fully present, we can respond to life's challenges with clarity and calm. We can act from a place of wisdom, rather than reacting from fear, anger, or frustration. The steady mind is one that is grounded in the present, not lost in regrets or worries. Another key practice is reflection. At the end of each day, take a moment to reflect on how you handled the challenges you faced. Did you act with wisdom? Did you respond with patience and courage? Did you remain focused on what you could control rather than being swept away by what you could not? These moments of reflection help you refine your responses, making you more steady and resilient as you move forward. A steady mind is not a static state, but a dynamic process. It requires continuous effort and practice, and each day is an opportunity to strengthen it further. The more we practice emotional control, the more we cultivate virtue, and the more we live in accordance with nature, the steadier our minds become. Think about the challenges you face in your own life, the obstacles that seem insurmountable, the fears that hold you back, the doubts that cloud your judgment. Now, imagine facing these challenges with a steady mind. Imagine approaching each difficulty, not with resistance or frustration, but with calm determination and clarity. The world around you may be chaotic, but within you, there is peace. You are able to navigate each step with purpose and strength, for you know that your peace does not depend on the circumstances, but on how you respond to them. This is the essence of a steady mind, the ability to face life's difficulties without being overwhelmed by them. It is the power of emotional control, the strength of endurance, and the wisdom of knowing that no matter how difficult the path may seem, you have the ability to walk it with resolve. As we conclude this meditation on the steady mind, let us remember that life will continue to present us with challenges, obstacles, and difficulties. But in the face of these trials, we have a choice. We can allow ourselves to be swept away by the winds of emotion and circumstance, or we can cultivate a steady mind, grounded in virtue, wisdom, and self-control. A steady mind makes any path walkable, for it does not react impulsively, but acts with purpose and clarity. It faces each challenge with courage and determination, knowing that the obstacles on the path are not there to defeat us, but to help us grow stronger. So, let us commit ourselves to the practice of cultivating a steady mind, to practicing emotional control, to living in accordance with virtue, and to responding to life's challenges with wisdom and calm. In doing so, we create a life that is not dictated by external circumstances, but guided by the inner peace and strength that comes from mastering our minds. A steady mind is often misunderstood as a passive or indifferent state. It is not about being numb or detached from life's challenges. On the contrary, a steady mind is one that is fully engaged with the world, but it does so with balance and perspective. The Stoic philosopher does not withdraw from life's difficulties, but faces them directly, with clarity and emotional resilience. When the world presents us with hardship, whether it's the loss of a loved one, a difficult career situation, or the turmoil of personal struggles, the impulse is often to resist. We want to fight against the pain, to reject the reality of the moment, and to control outcomes that are beyond us. Yet it is in our resistance that we create the greatest turmoil. When we resist the natural flow of life, we add to our suffering. But when we accept what is, while maintaining control over how we respond, we find strength in the face of adversity. Think of the image of a river. The water flows naturally, encountering obstacles along the way. It does not fight against the rocks, Instead, it works around them, carving its path with persistence and grace. In the same way, the steady mind encounters life's obstacles, not with resistance or frustration, but with patience and purpose. It flows with the challenges, responding thoughtfully rather than reacting impulsively. This is the essence of Stoic endurance, the ability to continue moving forward, even when the path is difficult, even when the outcome is uncertain. It is not about forcing the world to bend to our will, but about mastering our response to the world as it is. A steady mind is able to endure hardship, knowing that difficulty is an inevitable part of life, and that it is through endurance that we cultivate wisdom and strength. Look back at the moments in your life where you faced adversity. How did you respond? Did you allow the circumstances to overwhelm you, or did you face the challenge with calm and clarity? The truth is, our external circumstances often have far less influence over us than we think. What truly shapes our experience is our response to those circumstances. When we react impulsively, driven by fear, frustration, or anger, we often make the situation worse. But when we respond with a steady mind, guided by wisdom and emotional control, we are able to navigate even the most difficult situations with grace. Reflect on a recent challenge you faced. What was your emotional reaction? Were you calm and thoughtful, or did you feel swept away by your emotions? And how did that affect the outcome of the situation? By observing our own responses, we begin to see that it is not the difficulty that determines our experience, but how we meet it. The steady mind does not avoid difficulty, but faces it with courage and wisdom. This is a key aspect of Stoic endurance, not running away from what is hard, but facing it with the clarity that comes from emotional control. We do not need to be unaffected by life's trials, but we can choose how we respond. In doing so, we discover the power of endurance, not as a passive acceptance of fate, but as an active choice to remain steady, regardless of the challenges we face. The Stoic approach to a steady mind requires continuous practice. It is not a state we achieve once and for all, but a daily effort to maintain focus, control, and balance. The more we practice, the more naturally we will respond, with wisdom and emotional strength when faced with life's challenges. One powerful practice is journaling. By reflecting on our thoughts and actions each day, we can track our progress in developing a steady mind. At the end of each day, take a moment to write down your experiences, your emotional reactions, and your thoughts on how you responded to the challenges you faced. Did you act with wisdom? Did you control your emotions? Did you endure the difficulties with patience and clarity? These reflections can help you identify areas where you may need to improve and areas where you have made progress. Another key practice is meditation or mindfulness. Taking a few moments each day to sit in silence, to observe your thoughts without judgment, allows you to cultivate awareness of your emotional state. When we are mindful, we can catch ourselves in moments of emotional turbulence and pause before reacting. This practice strengthens our ability to respond with clarity and control, rather than giving in to knee-jerk reactions. Stoic endurance also requires us to embrace discomfort. Life's challenges are an inevitable part of the human experience, and avoiding discomfort only strengthens our resistance to it. When we intentionally face discomfort, whether it's a difficult conversation, a physically challenging task, or emotional pain, we strengthen our resolve. The more we endure, the more resilient we become. We are not meant to avoid difficulty, but to face it with courage, knowing that it is through enduring hardship that we grow stronger. Consider the things that have caused you to feel overwhelmed in the past. How often have you allowed these challenges to define your experience, to take away your sense of peace and clarity? But what if you had faced those same challenges with a steady mind? What if, in the face of difficulty, you had paused, reflected, and chosen your response with wisdom and calm? Would the outcome have been different? Would you have felt more at peace, regardless of the external situation? The key to a steady mind is not about avoiding the challenges, but about mastering your response to them. Life will continue to present us with obstacles, but when we face them with clarity, emotional control, and endurance, we discover that no matter how difficult the path, we can walk it with purpose. The steady mind does not fear challenges, but embraces them as opportunities for growth. It recognizes that hardship is not something to be avoided, but something to be endured with strength and wisdom. As we close, remember that the path ahead will not always be easy. Life will continue to present challenges, obstacles, and moments of doubt. But in each of these moments, we have a choice. We can allow the external world to determine our peace, or we can cultivate a steady mind, grounded in virtue and wisdom, that will guide us through even the most difficult circumstances. A steady mind makes any path walkable because it does not react to every obstacle, but meets each challenge with resolve and clarity. It understands that peace is not something that comes from the world around us, but from our ability to control how we respond to it. When we master our minds, we can walk any path with calm, purpose, and strength. So, let us commit to the practice of cultivating a steady mind, to developing emotional control, to enduring difficulties with patience and wisdom, and to living in alignment with virtue. In doing so, we discover that no matter how rocky the path may seem, it is always walkable, as long as we maintain our focus, our resolve, and our inner peace.